If you are considering homeschooling, chances are you have considered how you're going to teach your child to read if you have a younger student. And maybe that task seems a little daunting to you. Maybe you feel ill-equipped and like you don't know how to teach your child to read. Thankfully, there are a lot of wonderful curriculums out there that will walk you through how to teach your child to read. And so today I'm going to talk to you about 100 gentle lessons in sight and sound. This is a Charlotte Mason curriculum, or Charlotte Mason style curriculum by A Gentle Feast. Charlotte Mason was very specific in how you would teach a child to read. Most of it before the age of 6, because Charlotte Mason did not recommend any formal lessons until the age of 6, would have just been done through play. You know, you're outside and you're drawing a C in the sand and you're saying, oh, this is the letter C. C says K. Children pick stuff up, by the way, and when we are just constantly exposing them to playful learning, they're going to learn and retain that so much more. But as you're approaching that 6-year-old mark, you need to be a little more diligent in now teaching them formally how to read. And so 100 Gentle Lessons gives you a very Charlotte Mason approach to reading lessons. So I'm going to read to you an excerpt from Home Education. It's actually found in the beginning of this book. It's quite lengthy, but I'm going to read you a paragraph of that. What is it we purpose in teaching a child to read? That he shall know at sight, say, some 1,000 words, that he shall be able to build up new words with the elements of these. Let him learn 10 new words a day, and in 20 weeks he will be to some extent able to read, without any question as to the number of letters in a word. For the second, and less important, part of our task, the child must know the sounds of the letters and acquire power to throw given sounds into new combinations. So something that Charlotte Mason always advocated was to remember that a child is a whole person. You don't want to give them twaddle to read. You don't want to make them feel as if they're working towards nothing. You want to give them something of substance that their mind can really feed on. And her reading lessons were the same way. She wanted children to be able to read real children's rhymes, nursery rhymes, small poems, that type of thing. And that is where children learned to start reading. So they weren't just reading, 2-letter words and 3-letter words. They were learning full words. And that is where the concept of sight and sound came in, because they were learning words at sight, and then they were also starting to learn the sounds of the letters and phonics and putting letter combinations together and learning how to read. So I'm going to open up to the first lesson in this book, and I'm going to give you a glimpse at what it looks like to do a Charlotte Mason reading lesson. So in lesson number 1, they are going to learn a real nursery rhyme. This one is A, B, C, tumble down D, the cat is in the cupboard and can't see me. Now, cupboard might seem like a really big word for your 6-year-old to learn, but it's because they are able to read those big words that they feel accomplished. They feel excited about learning to read because they're not reading just tiny words the whole time. They're learning by sight how to read big words. Can they phonetically sound that whole word out yet? No, but by sight, when they see that, they can identify the word cupboard. So what you'll do is you will get, for each lesson, there is a sheet that has all of the sight words that your child will learn. You cut those out, and then you hold them up for the child, and you have them look at it, and then they find within the lesson that word. So they've learned to identify it. You say the word for them. They find it within the lesson, and they learn how to, by sight, read these words. Then in the next lesson, there's a little bit of phonics that is involved. So they learn how to sound out. Over here, it's the at and the and sounds. So they'll go through and read. So a little thing to note is that before you start 100 Gentle Lessons in Sight and Sound, your child should be able to sound out words through play. And I mean, that's just something that they're going to do, by the way. So it is just assumed that by the time you get to this program, they already know their letter sounds. And so this is now a little bit of a phonics approach, teaching them by sound how to sound out words. That would be the next lesson. Now they're going to learn how to put what they have learned into different orders. And so here it says A, B, C, tumble down D, the cat, the cupboard, the cat is in the cupboard, The cat can't see me. And so they are learning to put all of the sight words that they have learned in different orders and still able to read that. So the thing that Charlotte Mason always talked about was sequencing. Once a child has learned a nursery rhyme, they should be able to look at it. If you were to cut into strips each line, they should be able to read it and put them into sequential order. And so A Gentle Feast does this with every lesson. So by the end of a lesson, your child should be able to, be able to sequence all of the poem that they had learned. And so that is just like a little glance at what a reading lesson would look like. What I really liked about A Gentle Feast, 100 Gentle Lessons in Sight and Sounds, is that they build off of one another. Some of the words that your child has learned in lesson 1, they will continue to build on in lesson 5. They have a sheet like this where your child can take and spell out words, or they can drive words across the mat. Okay, so they're supposed to put a little car here, and as they sound out a word, so you would lay down, if I have C-A-T, they're going to drive a car. I'm sorry, it would be this way, C-A-T. They're going to drive a car across there at the top as they're reading the word. And so that's just a way to make learning to sound out words a lot of fun for them. Now, this is where my honest opinion ends up coming in. So we actually went through about 50 lessons of the 100 Gentle Lessons in Sight and Sound. And actually, I can tell you exactly how far, because we ended up stopping. So we got through lesson 55. This was in my daughter's kindergarten year. So to be fair, she was 5 and a half. She was not quite 6. But I was starting to notice something with her. The more sight words I added on, the less she was able to identify. Even ones that she had learned at the very beginning, she was no longer able to identify them anymore. It was like her brain became so jumbled, and anything that like put and pat and pan, all of those looked the same in her mind. And so I started to realize that there may have been and there may still be a little bit of dyslexia in the learner that I was using this curriculum with. And so halfway through, she was just over 6 then at that point, I did make a switch to a different reading program, because what I was finding was that all of the sight words for her, this reading program was just too sight heavy. There were too many sight words. She needed to slow down and actually identify all of the letters in the word and sound out most of them. Otherwise, to her very creative brain, she was just combining them all, and they were all beginning to look the same to her. And so we made a switch, and I'm not saying that this is a bad program, because I actually love the concept of this program, and I do think that this would work for a lot of learners. But I do think that my daughter has a little bit of a special circumstance where she just needed something different. And that is what I love about homeschooling, is that there are so many different types of curriculum out there that you can find one that works for your child. If you are wanting a reading lesson that is so gentle, that is enjoyable, that doesn't feel like you're just teaching them very basic stuff, that you want to give them just a grasp of what the English language sounds like, rather than, a cat sat, it's like the beautiful cat sat on a mat or whatever. You are giving them just a taste of how beautiful the English language can be through sight and sound. So we did choose to go with something else, but I wanted just to give an overview of what a lesson looks like with 100 Gentle Lessons in Sight and Sound. I think it is a beautiful program. I do think that it could work. I know people who have successfully used this and taught their children to read, and it did really well for them. And so that's just an overview of what it looked like. If you get further into the lesson, like I said, there is phonics in there. They were, sounding out small words and matching. The lessons are meant to be very short. Actually, that was one thing I wanted to share. So one of the things that I really loved is there are all these little letter tiles that come with the curriculum. And so your student will take those letter tiles and they will build words with those. And then it'll say, make bad spell bat. change one letter. And so then they're looking at those 3 letter tiles and they're just changing one tile to make it say bat. And so that is a really great way. And we've continued to use that with my daughter to teach her how to spell, because it just makes her focus on one letter change and just how that can change the entire meaning of the word. And so if you are looking at implementing a fully Charlotte Mason style reading lesson, this is a wonderful place to start. It gives you the tools and the resources that you need to implement a Charlotte Mason reading lesson. So I will link this below in the description. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel.